Sarah, how can I differentiate these games? Well, we know that every child is different and so is every classroom. You might find that some of these games may be a little too challenging and rarely they're too easy for your students. So here are some ways that you can differentiate the game. Let's say you're teaching word problems and you notice that the cards are too challenging for your students. You'll know that they are too challenging when they've reached the frustration level and you hear complaining, you see students giving up, or you might actually see some students cry. Your students might be frustrated for several reasons depending on the type of game card. It could be that they potentially don't have the schema necessary to solve the problem, meaning that there are learning deficits from previous grade levels. In order to help solve this, try mixing game cards with lower level games. For instance, let's say you're teaching multiplication in third grade. You might want to consider mixing in the cards from the odd and even game or the cards from the erase game in with the multiplication cards. This will boost their confidence when approaching the new skills that they're learning. Another reason why your students are becoming frustrated is because of the vocabulary. Vocabulary acquisition is important to use in elementary mathematics because it will continue to be used in algebra and other higher math classes. You should know that I do not use cute words like hamburger, french fries, chicken nuggets, things like that for place value. Instead, I use the same vocabulary that is found within the standards to acclimate your scholars to the vocabulary. I highly encourage you to do the same thing. Finally, your students may be frustrated because the game cards have multiple steps, they require a higher order thinking, or they're a higher level of your depth of knowledge. Think of these problems like training to lift weights. Okay, so you don't start by lifting your goal weight. No, you have to work up to it. First, you start by exercising with lighter weights and more repetition to build your endurance, and then you start lifting heavier weights with less repetition. The same is true for our math muscles, especially when it comes to word problems. Let's say you're teaching two-step word problems. So here's what you're going to do. Try mixing one-step word problems from second grade and some basic math facts with this game. This will disrupt the sequencing of the game by allowing students to have more success with easier problems, and this is going to give them more brain power to attempt the more challenging problems. Stay tuned for my next video where I'll give you tips on managing your students while they play these games.